Welcome everyone to Painting Fundamentals 1, Brushes. Now, I get messages all the time. I tried to make it easy for people that, if you watch the credits at the end of some of my newer tutorials, you actually see that I tell you what kind of brushes I use. But I figured, I think there's enough people out there that want me to go in depth with what I use, what's in my arsenal, when to use them, and what I use them for. Alright, so we're going to go through, and the first thing we're going to do is we are going to talk about Kolinsky brushes, right? Some of you guys coming into the hobby probably just heard about them. You're wondering, oh, what's this, what's all this talk about the Kolinsky brushes, and, do I need to buy one if I'm starting the hobby? And the answer lies in the purpose of a Kolinsky. Now, here's the Kolinskys I got, okay? And we'll go through them one by one, and I'll talk about them. Now, the reason Kolinskys are popular with, some of the veteran painters is because they're watercolor brushes. Now, why does that matter? Well, when you thin your paints down enough, like when you're doing, really thin layer blending, and you're taking one color and trying to blend it into another, one way to go about it is to thin your paints like way down and basically step it. One time we'll paint from here to here with the first layer. Once that dry, we'll go from here to here, and what happens is you slowly bring it down little by little and bring the blend up. So as you go from top to bottom, up here you might have 1 or 2 layers, but as you get to the bottom you might have like 8 or 10, and with that many coats of thinned paint, you start to see a color change. And Taklon brushes don't handle it well, and when your paint's that thin, if you're a guy who's painting directly from the pot and then you try to dilute your paint 1-to-1 with water, which means 1 drop of paint with 1 drop of water, for some people that still want to know what dilution means when I say that in the video. When I say 1-to-1, it's 1 drop water, 1 drop paint, or 3 drops water, 3 drops paint, just half and half. And those guys that are painting straight from the pot, once you start to try to dilute, you're going to notice the characteristics are different. The paint's less forgiving. There's if you have too much paint mixed on your brush, as soon as you touch it to the model, it'll just flood right out on it. And so you need a brush that's going to be able to handle that. And Kolinskys are high grade brushes. You can get cheap ones, and you'll know you got a cheap one because it won't perform as well as the more expensive ones. But there's a nice medium in between where you don't have to pay too much out of pocket and still get a decent one that'll do the job. The characteristics. Okay, what is Kolinsky hair? Do you know of anything that has hair that's called a Kolinsky? Well, what it is it's male Siberian weasel tail hairs. Now, I don't know how someone figured that out and said, wow, I caught a Siberian weasel, but he got away, and I have a handful of hairs in my hand. Let's see if we can watercolor with these. Awesome. No, I don't know how it happened, but basically, it's a the more expensive brushes, like the Series 7s and the Da Vinci's, are handmade. They hand select individual hairs, and some guy with, jeweler's visor is putting these individually into a ferrule and assembling the bunch to make sure all the points are curving into each other to make that beautiful point. The characteristics are brush snapback, great bellies on Kolinskys. They like to hold water and until you paint, so they like to hold water and paint, and then when you let go, the mixture flows just so nice out of these brushes when your paints are diluted. And so that's why people always talk about them. If you're just getting into the hobby and you're thinking about buying brushes and you keep hearing all about this Kolinsky stuff, if you're not getting ready to thin your paints yet, I wouldn't invest in them. You can get more brushes for the same price. And if you don't know how to take care of your brushes, watch my brush maintenance video, like how to clean using Master's brush cleaner. And learn how to take care of your brushes, because these will last a very long time if you take care of them. Because natural hair, if you let them dry out, if you stick them in solvent, something like that, it's just like your normal hair. If you were putting thinner turpentine through your hair, and then you know it's just going to rob it of moisture and stuff, your hair's going to break. And it's the same thing with these. But if you do take care of them, they will last a very long time. So let's go through and talk about the Kolinskys. Which ones do I use? All right, I've pretty much used them all, but I bought a couple of different brands to show you the difference. All of these brushes, even though you see the tips are kind of different, they're all size 0 except for the Series 7, which is right here. Series 7 here is a 2-aught or 00, and I like to show this because, you know, in my videos you might see, oh, okay, you know, Les said that he used 2 brushes, but they're both size 0s. I don't get it. Well, here's the one that I'm always talking about, right? This is the Blick Studio. Let's go. Blick Studio Sable Kolinsky, right? Now take a look at the ferrule, right? When I talk about diameter, some sites you're allowed to look up the specs of them, of the different brushes, and it'll tell you what the diameter is, and it'll tell you the bristle length. And that's important because, like, say I like using Blick Studio. Well, what happens if Blick Studio quits making them? Quits making this particular brush and in this size, and I want to get, you know, another brand. It's good to know those the diameter and the bristle length, because, you know, if I want to switch over, I just find another brand and compare it and see what's close to it. And here I got this as an example. Okay, this is the Skoda Optimo Kolinsky 1210. Looks like it's even manufactured by the same company, because look at that. Even the ferrule design lines up perfectly. And oh, look at this, diameter and tip length. It's right spot on, huh? If these were both brown, you'd probably, or if you can't see the handles there. It looks like I got 2 of the same brush almost. Pretty good. But the big difference is, okay, check it out. Here's the Da Vinci 0. Now, yeah, this is, I'm trying to show these to you, so if you guys see something that you like, you can go and find them. This is a Da Vinci 0, number 1505, Germany. Alright, so let's get this on right here. You're gonna have problems focusing? Alright, here we go. Now, the diameter of these two is about the same, but the bristle length, you can see, is about half. Now, what's the purpose of these? These are like my 2 favorite smaller brushes. And what I mean smaller is, check out the Reaper Kolinsky 0. See how much larger that is in diameter than the other brushes? About the same length as the Blick Studio here on the right, but we'll put them largest to smallest just to make it easier to look at. So this is the brush you usually see me base coating with, doing most of my stuff with. Whenever I get into doing the faces, more intricate details, I either use one of these 2. Now, since these things have great bellies, again, meaning that the you know, they have a reservoir basically in here, and the thicker the diameter is, you don't really have to worry about it. Like, you know, people say, how could you paint with that, you know, Reaper 0 and get all the details that you do? And a lot of it's, you know, the quality of the tip. And if you get a really good Kolinsky brush from a known manufacturer, you can get in there and get all the details and have enough paint left in the belly of it to keep going. So if you're, you know, lining a whole Space Marines armor, you might be able to get halfway through before you have to dip your brush in paint again. But what do I use these 2 for? Okay, now that you know about the belly, and that bristle length has a lot to do with that, the Da Vinci, why would I use this over the Blick Studio? Well, the Blick Studio gets in there for when I have pre-assembled models and stuff like that, but it can also paint longer because it has longer bristles. Now, the cons of it, and the reason why I use this, is that, you know, the longer it is, the more flex you have and things that you have to compensate for. You know, like, oh, if I want to paint straight line, get into somewhere, it's the tip of it moves around. It's a little bit more squirrely when you have longer bristles. So the shorter bristles one, it's nice to get right in there wherever you need to get in, and not have to worry about, you know, the bristles getting away from you. Like, basically trying to paint a straight line. If I were to paint a straight line here, on this piece of paper, it'd be a little bit more squirrely with a longer bristle brush than it would a shorter bristle. Does that make sense? Just because, you know, you're trying to control something that's further away from, you know, a solid handle. So it's going to kind of, you know, maneuver depending on the surface. It's going to maneuver whatever way you want it wants, and the control that you have to try to, you know, correct that is less with longer bristles. So that's why I use this one. So when I need to do precise, like freehand stuff, this is when these come in. If you guys want to get into freehand, a short end kolinsky. Sorry, freehand and you're diluting, you get a short bristle kolinsky. Now I'll bring in the Blick Studio one again because this is my favorite brush. And here we have Winsor Newton 0020, or it's a 00 or a 20 or a 2-aught, as people call them. And putting that right up against the Blick Studio brush. Again, the Series 7 looks like it's almost got a thicker metal there for the ferrule, but as far as diameter, they're pretty much the same. Tip length's about the same, stuff like that, but you know, one's a 0 and one's a 00, so it's kind of like, you know, well, you know, if you got a 00 of the Blick Studio brush, it's going to be, you know, smaller, but it's, you know, that's just to show you that, you know, brands are different, you know, and their standard of what a 0 is or what a 00 is differs between brands. So you gotta, you know, look at those specs. You know, if you get a favorite brush, find out what the diameter is and stuff like that, and make sure you get to it. Now, for all you guys that are just getting into painting, don't want to spend money on those Kolinskys, I suggest you go with this brand, right? Some of you know what that is. Oh, there it is in focus, Army Painter, right? All right, two different brushes, two different styles here. You got highlighting brushes, or sorry, the hobby brush are red handles, the hobby brushes, and the war gamers are white handles. Some of them come in these triangular handles here, which is, you know, some people might not like it. I mean, if it was a pencil, I probably wouldn't like it, but you're not applying pressure with these. You know, it's painting's a very light-handed sport, if you want to say that. So here we go. These are the brushes I started painting with, and I'm getting back into using them because we're going to be carrying them in the online store. So, you know, I want to be able to show you that I can paint using the old Army Painter stuff. But like I said, I was using these when I got back into the hobby, so, you know, I'm used to them. I know how they act when I paint with them and all that good stuff. Now, you're going to see I grabbed 4 of them here. I got different brushes, right? This is a stippler. This is when you see a tutorial where someone's saying, oh yeah, I stippled the paint on. What is it? Not all stipplers look like this, but Army Painter stippler, it's pretty hard bristles. You see that? I'm putting a lot of pressure on that to try to move it. And I think they're synthetic. They might be boar hairs, but basically, you know, when you stipple, you stab the paint on. And what it does is it gives you, you know, random dots here and there. And I'll be using this or probably one of my other stipplers in the meantime. So here we go. All right, you got 2 Taklon and 1 natural hair. If you can't tell which one's the natural hair, this will show you. Okay, natural hair's in the middle, just so you know. The Taklon synthetic brushes are really good for guys who paint straight out of the pot, or, you know, minimum amounts of dilution. And Taklon brushes are synthetics. Taklon is just a type of synthetic, and I just have a habit of calling synthetics Taklon. Is since these aren't sensitive like natural hair, these are actually, you know, plastic. When you clean them, you can be pretty brutal to them. You can you know, beat them up against your hand to get all the paint off, stuff like that. And these will stay pretty resilient. But what's cool about it is that if you take care of them and you form the tips before you put them away using Master's Brush Cleaner or bristle molder stuff, I think Mona Lisa makes it, you know, they'll hold their tip. They won't curve over on you. I don't know what people think, that it's a storing thing, like, oh, if you store your brushes straight up, they're gonna curl. I store all my brushes straight up, and these Kolinskys, I've had these for about 6 months. See any curled tips on those? I don't think so. So all those yo-yos talking about that, sorry, I am in disbelief. But you know, it might depend on the climate and where you're at and how you take care of your brushes. So here you go, Army Painter. This is what you guys need to get. Good quality for the price, and you know, they got an assortment. And instead of putting numbers like sizes of brushes, kind of sucks, you know, if you're trying to get your you know, what is this size of brush, you know, from Winsor Newton, and you don't know because they don't put it on there. They make it kind of stupid proof here. Okay, this is Wargamer Monster, so you would use this to paint a monster because it's a huge brush. I use it for base coating because it's ginormous, and you know, you dip your brush in the paint. Look at this, bam! You paint this guy's whole back of his armor in like 2 strokes, and it gets, you know, you'll get pretty good coverage using this brush. And then the same thing with these, you know, pretty much it's on there. Okay, Wargamer, what does that say? You gonna come into focus? Alright, Regiment. Okay, this is the size brush that is about the same as the Reaper Kolinsky Zero. It's a you know, medium brush that's got a nice tip. It's actually the, you know, natural hair, so you can actually get in there and get pretty detailed with it. And this is a brush that I would use to paint pretty much the whole model except for the eyes and maybe the final highlights on the face. So that's what you would use it for, you know. And then the difference, I mean, I haven't seen a difference in quality between the Hobby brand and the Wargamer brand. And you know, Hobby brand has more generic names. Instead of calling it Regiment, they actually say like what type of painting you would be doing. So this is what they would use, or what they say represents a highlighting brush. So it's a little bit smaller than the Regiment brush, and it's, you know, it's made to get a smaller surface area than the other brushes, so it's a little bit tinier. And they have the stipple brush. So as far as Army Painter goes, I mean, they have a bunch of different dry brushes. I'll showcase those, but you know, for you guys starting out, I'd say Army Painter over GW. And if your skills get up and you think you want to get into doing, you know, layer blending with very thin paints, at least a 1-to-1 ratio or more, then go and invest in some Kolinskys. Now we're going to get into the favorite, right? Dry brushing. You know, I dry brush all the time. I don't know, you know, if you guys have been on the forums and people are like, oh, dry brushing's for noobs. Yeah, whatever, dude. It's, you know, it's a technique that, you know, is best in certain situations. Like, yeah, okay, you know, some guy's wearing chainmail. You could go in and paint every link one by one, but you know, if you're just trying to get stuff on the table, dry brushing is the best thing in the world. So here's my dry brush that I started out with. This was in the Master's Brush Cleaner tutorial. Royal Soft Grip. These are like the cheapest brushes you can get from Michael's Arts and Crafts here in the US. And they call them soft grips because they got this nice soft grip, you know. You got nice delicate hands and you want a soft grip while you're painting for hours, then you know, you get you a soft grip. Speaking of cleaning, yeah, this one's in dire need of it. But basically, I use this. It was a good brush to use for pretty much anything, basing and all that good stuff. I've had this for a couple years, and it's been abused, so you start to see the tip curling now. But I've had this, you know, going on 3 years now, and I've left it out with paint sitting on it, all kinds of stuff. This thing's, you know, traveled in a toolbox for, you know, a year and all kinds of stuff. But, you know, for a dry brush, they're allowed to get, you know, bent out tips like that. It actually helps. I think it's better. You got a seasoned, this is a seasoned dry brush for you guys, and once you know, like, your seasoned dry brushes, they perform outstanding because the bristles aren't all together and can give you a more natural random brushed look. So we got that one, right? And I like this because it'll cover a large surface area, and then when you need to get in between something, just, you know, turn it a little bit. Good to go. Alright, cool. I was selling these for a while, and these are, what is this? Oh, that's upside down. You can't read that upside down. Alright, this is a Royal Small. It's a stencil brush number 1114, right? A little bit more stout than the other one, thicker in width, and when you turn it on the side, still got a better diameter than the soft gripped. and it's got longer bristles, but these are natural hair. These are actual boar hair, and these ones are synthetic. Or these might be synthetic. I might just think it's boar hair because there might be like a stripe of black paint left in there, but I'm pretty sure they're boar hair. The dry brushes I use most of the time, I've been using them mostly, is these are De La Rowney Expressions Robert Simmons E79 Deerfoot Stippler, and the size is a 3/8 inch, and I got 3 different sizes, so we'll go from large to small. We'll take these ones, put them off to the side, and they're called Deerfoot because look, when you tilt it and it's got that little angle there, look, it looks like a Deerfoot. Cool. The one in the middle's got white stuff on it, and it looks weird because that's what the Master's brush cleaner looks like when it dries. It holds that tip together, and look at that. When the bristles are separating, it won't do that until you get it wet, or unless you put a bunch of force on it. But you might break hairs if you do that. So you just get it wet, you know, clean the tip off on a towel, and you're ready to go. And it ends up looking like that. So, and then this one's dirtied up because I've been using it to clean out the inside pot of the airbrush because it's too small to really do anything. But as far as dry brushing stuff, I think it's natural hair. I try to keep all my brushes natural hair if I can get away with it. And these ones are a sable blend, and you know, it's good to have the different sizes because look how big this is. I mean, you try to get in between this guy's legs to dry brush this base here. I mean, you have a big chance of getting it on his boot and all kinds of other stuff. So it's good to have, you know, different size dry brushes, because then this one can get in detail a little bit more than that larger one. But I mean, if you're doing, you know, sand bases or larger bases where you might have, you know, the guy standing on a huge base, something like that for display or something, you know, those large dry brushes are the ticket. So I mean, other than that, pretty much that's all the brushes that I have, or that I actually use. I got more brushes, but they're all pretty much the same size, all do the same thing, and I just replace them as they go bad, or I break them, or I don't clean them properly. I get lazy and leave a brush out and something like that, and hope to God it's not one of my Kolinsky brushes. And I mean, pretty much if I'm gonna paint, I'd probably, alright, that's for dry brushing. Hell, you know what, to be honest, I use the soft grip for a lot of my dry brushing. And let's see, I would probably use the Blick. I grab the Blick Kolinsky, grab my Reaper because I love that thing, and we can ditch the Series 7. And where's my Da Vinci? Actually, as of late, I've been actually using this one to base coat, but the Reaper will let me do more. So I love it, and I have no idea where my Da Vinci Kolinsky went. Oh well, it's only like $18, right? So, but yeah, I mean, the only thing that's missing from here would be the Da Vinci Kolinsky, and pretty much that's all I use to paint something. And yeah, like I said, this the monster brush here, this thing is my favorite right now for base coating. It does everything. It's a monster. So hopefully that helps you guys out, have an understanding of, you know, what paint brushes I use and what I use them for, and you know, can help you out when you go shopping. You know, it's time to buy new brushes and upgrade or whatnot. You know, kind of what to get. So that's pretty much all I had to put out. Part 2, I'm going to go through the paints and the differences between all the Vallejo paints that I carry, like Model Air, Model Color, and Game Color, and the uses for each of them as far as like color spectrum and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that next one. I'm trying to get as much information out there to you guys, and I realized I didn't do a fundamentals. I mean, I showed you my desk and showed you brushes, but I didn't really talk to you about it. So that's what this video is for. And if you guys like it, just let me know. You know, I'll keep putting out more and more. And you know, as long as information's getting out there and people are actually getting something from it. So you guys have a good day.